PokerStrategy.com, TSL. This is the round of 16, day 2. I am Chill from Canada up north. Joining me from the south is Day the Ninth.
Well, hello everyone. I hope everyone's having a fantastic Sunday morning. And in addition to it, getting a little bit of PokerStrategy.com TSL action to kind of wrap the weekend up. How are you doing this fine morning, Chill?
I'm doing really well and I'm excited. I mean, it's the weekend of StarCraft with us yet again, and this is happening every weekend, and it's going to continue happening until we wrap up this exciting tournament. So I'm just looking forward to these games today.
Yeah, I know we have two unbelievably, profoundly kick-ass matches happening today. Coming up second, talk a little bit about the match that we're going to see after this first one. We have Phoenix against Cole, the race picker from Peru, Phoenix, against the Zerg player Cole from Germany. But first, we're going to be beginning with an amazing best of 5 between the American player Liquid Noni and the Polish player IG Tarson.
Yeah, so let's throw that up. Let's take a look at the upcoming match here, and let's look at the map order actually. These are going to be the same 5 maps we're going to see in the TSL through to the end. Of course, the order is going to be randomized every day. So the order today is Andromeda, Tornado, Outsider, Destination, if necessary, and if we get to a 5th match, it's going to be on Fighting Spirit.
Yeah, I really like the choice of Andromeda for first map. I mean, personally, I'm a Zerg player that might have something to do with it. But I mean, I just like beginning straight up with a big macro-oriented map because a lot of times that gives you the opportunity to really just rely back on your fundamentals because, you know, nerves can play a big role in these games. And just being able to rely on the stuff that you've practiced so much, which would just be like macroing and microing your units, that's going to be a real help just right out the gate.
Oh, Day 9, always covering your bias up with logic and science. I see through you. But let's move on to the players now. We've got first up today is Tarson. Um, he's a player that kind of flies under the radar a little bit. Not many people know that much about him. He's a Polish player. I mean, the Polish community very strong in StarCraft. Always doing well. He's always been a WCG contender, but never really with any incredible results given how good that country is at StarCraft. So very underrated. In the last TSL, the Razor TSL, he lost 1-2 to Infernal and 0-2 to Brad OK in the round of 32. The stat I'm looking at there is the 1-2 to Infernal, showing that he can take a game from a pretty high level Protoss. So don't count him out too much yet. He was seeded 12th. To get to this point, he beat Gamcha 2-1, and he played that crazy series against, I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name, Ziki. Yeah, he beat him 3-2 in a TVZ. So he has put up some reasonable results, a little underrated, but, you know, don't count him out. This is StarCraft. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean that's always kind of a fun thing to think about. That in Poland, because there's always been so many good players coming out of Poland. I mean, like Draco, for instance, the one everyone knows about, lived in Korea for a period of time on the Height Sparkies team. Then I believe it was the OGN Sparkies. So there's so many really strong players in Poland that not many people are that familiar with. But I mean, if you just look at Tarson's stats, I mean, 12th on the ladder, and something that really impresses me is less his winning percentages and more just the number of games that he's played. For those of you who don't know, the statistics are the number of games that they have played A minus opponents or higher. This isn't all their compiled statistics over the TSL. So you can see that he's played over 100 games at the A minus and higher level. So he has a lot of experience against a wide variety of really tip-top shape players. And we already see that he's over 50% in all matchups. So he's a very well-rounded player, very competent. And I mean, I just have a lot of faith in his ability to put up a good fight.
Wow, that's actually a sick statistic because if we look at some of the other players' data sheets, once they get to A minus, they you know it's not uncommon to see players with 10, 20 games at A minus. So
Mm-hmm,
for
mm-hmm.
him to have 100 games at A minus, that's ridiculous. And this seems as good a time as any to plug that we're also adding in those stats games from the foreign StarCraft tournaments. So if you want to take a look at that, Pandemic's been working hard to update the TSL database. If you want to get there, it's teamliquid.net/TSLD, and that'll just get you up to date on what these players have done, who they've beaten in the past, get their stats. So I think that's going to wrap it up for Tarson. let's move over to kind of the hero of the day. If we're gonna paint him in that light, the player everyone's familiar with is Noni.
Oh yes, I mean, as a player from America, I can't help but root for Noni because I've played against him in so many tournaments, so many qualifiers, and he is a ridiculously obnoxious player to play against. Because I mean, there's a lot of people who like to go out there and think of some cute, fun little gimmick. I mean, they'll think of some little cheese or maybe they'll go mech or something like that. But Noni, whether he's playing straight up or whether he's throwing some oddball creative strategy at you, you know that he has practiced it so much. It is like impossible to like play gimmicky game against him because he is the most solid player I've ever played against in any USA tournament. I mean, he's always given me consistent problems, and I mean, even remember in the 2007 US Open, he just completely dominated me, and really, I think that that's like the best that I've ever been at StarCraft.
And if we look at his past results so far, he played very good games. I mean, the results don't really show it, but 3-1 against Idra. We all know Idra's a pro gamer, and he put up really good games. And he's now released that he only practiced 1 week before playing Idra, so he hasn't really put
Yeah.
in the time to get back into shape. I mean, he's been away from StarCraft for a long time, and if he put up that kind of result with only 1 week, it's kind of scary to see how good he's going to get as he keeps going. And also, he's only been playing Terran opponents thus far. He went 1-3 against Idra, and then he just steamrolled through Horror 3-0. That was probably the most one-sided victory of last round. And now here we have him again playing PvT against Tarson. So, I mean, he was seeded into this PokerStrategy.com TSL, so he was a little out of shape. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen as he keeps playing. And he's also been quoted as saying he's going to 3-0 Tarson, and if/when he beats Tarson, he says he's going to beat Idra in the next round. So very exciting to see what's going to happen.
And one of my favorite parts about that is that Noni has nerves of steel. I mean, if you look at his stats right now, he has insane win percentages. I mean, 66 percent averaged across the three matchups. And this is against A minus and higher level players. And when he goes to tournaments, he plays that well at the tournaments. I mean, he's not the sort of player who will hide away and ladder all year and then go to the tournament and choke. He will play as well as he does in practice right then and there. And I mean, that's something that's really impressive. Because I mean, I don't know how many of our viewers got to catch the games yesterday. I mean, I'm not going to spoil the result, but there was definitely more than one player who was had to have been, experiencing the whole nerves issue. And I mean, chill. I mean, I know you've played in tons of live tournaments over the year. That's just such a weird, different feeling when you're right there in the moment in the deciding match. It's so easy to just screw everything up and to start forgetting units here and there. And then suddenly when your first push comes out, it's like half the size that it's supposed to be. And then you just can't get focused back in the game again.
That's so true, and that's something, if you've never been in the position where you're playing at high level tournaments, you don't really realize how much nerves can play. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
we play this game so much, you've played 10 games a day for how many years, but suddenly there's something on the line, you realize you missed two overlords and you're going all in or something ridiculous. And you're right, Noni seems to be a player. He's competed at high level sports in university and high school, so he kind of is immune to this. The other thing I just want to throw out there, which I really like about Noni, we've kind of alluded to it already, the StarCraft foreign community kind of, maybe I'm going to leave Idra off this list, but everyone else takes a page from Korea. So if they ask, like, how did
Hmm.
you do? Um, what do you think is going to happen? They usually say, well, my opponent played really well, but I played better. I practiced a lot. I'm going to do well. I'll try my best for the fans or something like that. Noni doesn't do that. He says, yeah, I'm going to win 3-0. Everyone cheer for me. My opponent's fans all come over to my side. So it's really refreshing to see that, and that's something that makes me really love Noni. So I think we've introduced this our first matchup quite a bit here. We know what we're looking for. Let's move on to the first map we're going to be looking at, and that is going to be a PvT on Andromeda.
Yeah, Andromeda, like I was mentioning a little bit at the start, this is a nice, friendly, macro-favored map. You have that cute little. It's like your main plateau just gently cups your natural expansion, and there's even another expansion on top if that's not enough. So it's incredibly easy to defend. I mean, you'll see a lot of Terrans going one factory and then double expanding straight off the bat. It's a little weird though when you're trying to take fourth and fifth expansions. I think that that's where you really see whether or not a player gets how to play on this map. Because I mean, let's just say that you're Protoss. If you're trying to take your fourth base, if you try to go for another main, there's that weird sort of cut in between the two mains. If the Terran pushes in between there or just contains your main or the other main that you've expanded to, it can be really hard to get your armies to connect properly. So, I mean, Protoss always has to be very careful with how they're expanding, that they're not going to make themselves too vulnerable to any sort of weird early Terran pushes.
Right, and because of those two expansions right close to your main, as you mentioned, I think we're typically going to see only two timings that Terran is looking to attack, which is either going to be
Hmm.
some very quick attack to cut off access to the natural, maybe some two-fact timing rush, which is a little unlikely because of the size of the map, the rush distance.
Yeah.
But in kind of going back to the meta game and mind games, it's a possibility. The other one, Terrans on this map like to just sit back, get 3-3, and then slowly push down one side or the other. And just looking back to Idra against Noni, we saw Noni just cut right through Idra's tank army with
With a
Psystorm. So
bazillion storms.
yeah, like Zhongbi Storm. So that was a little ridiculous, and I'm a little scared for Tarson. If he decides to go down that route, he's gonna have to do something special to not let that happen again.
Yeah, and I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. I think that we should go ahead and begin game one of Noni against Tarson on Andromeda. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now starting game one on Andromeda between IG Tarson from Poland and Liquid Noni from America. You know, one of my favorite things that you mentioned is the fact that Noni always loves to do that sort of, oh yeah, I'm sure I'm going to win. I hope everyone moves over to my side. It reminds me so much of July in the 2004 Gillette Star League, or the 2005 Gillette Star League, I think it was. Actually, I'll tell that story in a second. I should probably do the important thing and say that we have Liquid Noni spawning at the bottom right as the purple Protoss pieces. And in the top right, we have IG Tarson spawning as Terran. But yeah, July, in that Star League, it was his first appearance ever in the Star League. This is when I Love Uv was on his 27-0 win streak. And they actually did a little interview with all the 16 players who were entering in, you know, about who do you want to play, who are you worried about, who do you think will win, and this and that. And everyone was, you know, very deferential, like, oh, I just want to play my best. I want to thank my fans for coming out. A lot of people thought Nada would win. And July's like, I don't care who I win. I want to beat better players so everyone realizes I'm better. Like, who do you think will win? I'm going to win. And then he just, like, went ahead and won and, like, stopped I Love Oo's 27-0 win streak.
Yeah, seriously. And that's really the feeling Noni gets off. Like a very confident player, someone who's not afraid to put a little controversy out there, but it's not baseless. You know, when he says these things, I believe he could do it. And that's the thing that makes it so great to follow Noni through these leagues.
And we see the usual sorts of openings going on. Protoss not going to do anything too fancy, not going to go for any sort of 14 Nexus. A lot of players like to do that, go for a 12, 13, 14 Nexus style. Taking that mineral natural that's on the high ground, because there's really not that much that you can do about it as a Terran player, especially with that little tiny ramp. Noni, on the other hand, just going for everything standard straight up. And ooh, I already like this probe scout right into the middle. I was watching his stream on livestream last night of just recordings of him playing on Icy Cup, and he just consistently did that every single game. Just nice, safe little move.
Right, yeah, just checking if there's not going to be some sort of BBS or proxy barracks, 8 racks, anything. And especially we always have said this throughout casting, but it is true. If you consider yourself the better player and it's kind of globally known that you're a better player, then you should be the one scouting better, assuming cheese. And that's what we see Noni here. And we see Tarson put down 11 racks, 11 gas, so everything looks pretty standard now as Noni adds his cybernetic score before a zealot.
But yeah, look at Noni almost getting the SCV down. It's at 10 life. Ooh, that was kind of close. I mean, even if, this SCV doesn't end up dying, there's still 4 SCVs right now not mining. 2 of them are in battle, one's out scouting, and one's building. So, you mean, already Noni getting aggressive with his first worker, really bringing the noise there.
Yeah, and that can affect your mental state right at the start. I mean, we already see Tarson. Every one of his buildings since that probe got in his base has been, just a little late. Noni now going for the manor pylon, just getting it before the probe dies. What a sacrifice, and that is more annoying moves that are going to add to the mental state of Tarson.
Yeah, the probe reaching out with his dying breath just to vomit out a pylon right there in the worker line. We already see the SCVs waltzing around the back. And just as a side note, you do want to kill that manor pylon, because if you don't, you won't be able to build Comsat. That's me thinking ahead, Chill.
Day9 always looking out for everyone. And we look back at Noni, he's got the 1 gateway going, he's got range started. SCV gets in, doesn't see too much or doesn't get too much scouting information before it gets taken out. We got a 3rd pylon going down for Noni now, and he's just staying on 1 gateway. I'm interested to see if he's going to add a robotics or if he's going to expand off 1 gateway next.
Yeah, I don't really know how I feel about 1 gateway expand. Well, 1 gateway expand at least to the bottom natural, the gas natural. I mean, if you do anything that involves taking your mineral expansion really early on, I'm content with that. But I'm not so sure I like doing the 1 gate goon down the ramp. The starting positions are a little close for that, and I mean, you don't really have the nice turtling that you would on destination. No need to spend too much time talking about it, because we do see the Robo going down, the 2nd gateway going down, and Noni taking some shots at the Kakaru. Man, he is vicious.
Get out of my base, bird. So we see the starport from Tarson actually lifting up for some reason. That's probably a misclick. Now the add-on's going to come. And I like this opening out of Tarson because, as I said before, if you're not going to 2-factor and if you're just going to play a macro game with Noni, I think you're going to put yourself in a disadvantage. So if you're not going to cheese, why don't you roll the dice with some sort of... It looks like it's going to be a vulture drop, as we have vultures and mines being researched now. Unfortunately for him, Noni hasn't expanded. This would work a lot better if there was just 1 gateway worth of units. But Noni playing very safe. He's got the robotics out. He's got the observatory coming. He's going to have 2 gateways worth of units pumping out. So not the best situation for Tarson.
Yeah, this is duper safe by Noni. I mean, he's going 2 gateways, getting the Robo Bay. I mean, being super smart with his pylon placement. It's the little extra thing you need to do to just get those few extra win percentages here and there. Building pylons around the edge of your base early on. Just really that sort of foresight can be very helpful.
And here we go, Tarson deciding to move out a little bit, drive the Dragoons back, and then he's probably going to drop in the main. As that dropship didn't make right at the start, Noni forced to run back. He's taking a lot of hits from the tank, actually, now getting his micro working for him. Both their Dragoons lost their shields, one in the yellow here. Tarson's going to drive him back all the way to the natural. Now here comes the 6 Dragoons. Tarson needs to give it up. He can't keep attacking here. Looks like he's going to sacrifice some Marines and save the tank. That is the proper move, and this Dragoon is going to get taken out. Terran SCV kills 1. Thank you.
We already see that the Observer is now out. Noni's going to be walking right into this dropship. Oh my god, look at this. Let's see if he can spot it. Here comes the dropship. Is it going to sneak right by? Oh my god, I don't know if he was actually in range. I mean, all the Dragoons are positioned there anyways. There's only 2 Vultures inside that dropship. And there, down falls the dropship. I lied. I just wanted to look like someone who knew it was going to happen in the future. But it does look like he does manage to unload and gets a few mines down, but probably minimal damage going to be sustained here.
Yeah, I don't think this is the build Tarson actually practiced, because I can't imagine a build that's centered around dropping 2 Vultures. Really ineffective now, and let's see how he transitions. He's making a command center right in vision of that Observer, still on 1 factory, getting siege mode so he doesn't die to Dragoons here, but really, as we were saying, we don't want him to, or at least I personally don't want him to sit back and just play a macro game, but now it looks like that's his only out, and he's starting at a disadvantage, so he's given Noni a head start in the builds he doesn't want to be playing against, so not looking very good for Tarson thus far.
Yeah. Noni already has range, has the Observers up, he's double expanding. I mean, we see a little Vulture here at the Natural trying to do a little bit of magic, but just getting to lay 1 mine. Actually, I'm surprised that mine managed to get down there. But either way, we see Noni walking up the front of Tarson's base. There's only 3 tanks in there and no siege mode. Oh, I think siege mode only just finished. I mean, Tarson did not get those positioned in time. And now look at this crisis mode going on here in Tarson's base. And I think Noni even managed to snipe the dropship that was just sitting right there at that mineral natural.
Yeah, so this is not the position you want to be in. Tarson's going to be able to reclaim his... Looks like Noni's not fooling around. He's just going for it. He's going to target that first tank. That's going down. SCV's laid off the line. Second tank getting down. And they're not in position, the SCVs. Everything gets taken out. Tank spawning right. Here's a bunch of Dragoons just taking that out. And now it's only SCVs against Dragoons. That's not a situation you want to be in. Expect GG in the next few seconds because this game is over.
Yeah, I mean, look at how standardly Noni played. He's double expanding there. Good game already. Noni up 1-0. Wow, I'm at a little bit of a loss for words. I mean, if you just describe what happened from Noni's point of view, he played as safe and standardly as possible and was still able to walk up Tarson's ramp, which didn't have enough tanks with siege at it, and just kill him right there, just with 2 gateways worth of units.
Yeah, a really weird situation to be in. I can't really describe it other than Tarson played bad in that game. The 2 vulture drop didn't make sense. His little, I guess, his little FD rush worked pretty effectively. He couldn't have expected anything better than that, but just, standard play, really. And as you said, Noni played very safe, so... I mean, we don't expect any sort of early Dragoon pressure to kill someone, at least in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, I think what was probably happening from Tarson's point of view, to bring up nerves once again, is just how uncomfortable a position that is. You see only 2 Dragoons at your front originally. And you're getting ready to do your little push, and you move out, and you're getting to advance really, really far forward. You're feeling really happy, and then you get right to Noni's front, and suddenly 4 more Dragoons and an Observer appear, and that was probably just completely mentally threw off Tarson, because I mean it's really easy to just start the match off feeling a little bit nervous, but then tell yourself no, relax. You see these 2 Dragoons, he's definitely doing this, and you kind of mentally are like, okay, cool. I'm ready for this. And then you move out, and it's just not what you expected. And I mean, that drop, like you said, just sort of very oddly timed and ended up being completely ineffective against Noni's super, super safe build.
Okay, well, I don't think we need much more analysis from that. It was, we're gonna hope that Tarson kind of settles into the match, that was his throwaway game, and in giving up a game, he's gonna get kind of more comfortable playing because nerves definitely a factor there. So moving on to game 2, we're gonna be looking at playing on New Tornado. This is a map I really like for TVZ. You've got kind of the standard mineral and natural setup, but then there's a few little pathways that you can use as Terran when you're pushing forward to control your third. And if you can gain control of the other person's high ground en route to their third, it gives you a nice little staging point as you're sieging into their natural. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen here.
Yeah, there's a lot of narrow passageways that all Terran players get excited about, because really any Terran player, whenever they look at a new map, they say, "Oh, sweet, where can I put tanks?" And you can put them everywhere on Tornado, and almost anywhere is totally sweet. But even then, there's so many sort of weird corridors. It's very sort of like roundabouty, topsy-turvy kind of map. You can end up with a lot of funky counterattacks and a lot of weird sort of aggression in spots you wouldn't think. I mean, I'm thinking back to Call vs. Leda that was recently played on this map, and it was really weird to see. I mean, that little high ground pod, you think a lot of times is just a nice place to put tanks offensively or defensively, but just the structure of that little pod outside the base really sort of cuts mobility into 2 directions. So I mean, if they're containing on one side, you have a lot of freedom to move out the back end, not just for attacking, but to even continue expanding. So I mean, I think that it's a map that even if you do have nice stable builds, it will really favor someone's versatility with their troop movement way, way, way better.
I got to agree 100%, and that's the thing I think that separates, good Terran versus Protoss players from the best Terran versus Protoss players. And when I'm thinking of this, I'm referencing Braddock, because he is one of the most mobile TVPs I've ever seen. His tanks are always sieging on the move, and exactly like you say, I'm just kind of being a repeating parrot here, but Terrans can kind of fall into that trap where they're like, okay, I got the third, sweet, this position is great, and then they just sit up there, and then armies go everywhere else but there. It's great. You've got this little stranglehold that you can use to push forward, but everything's happening everywhere else on the map, and they just get focused on that one position, and that ends up being their downfall. So an interesting map. Tarson is going to have to stay mobile. We know Noni is going to be solid as hell, and he's not going to be affected by this map too much.
So yeah, with that, let us begin Game 2 of Liquid Noni against IG Tarson on Neo Tornado.